My name is Chris Lyford. I'm the Senior Editor here at Psychotherapy Networker Magazine. Thank you for joining us for another edition of Networker Live. This is a bit of a detour for us, whereas normally we would talk about an article in the magazine, a modality, a concept. Instead, today we're going to do something really fun. We're going to be talking about a recent Saturday Night Live skit that came out back in March. It's called Straight Male Friend. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out after this discussion, and this will make a little more sense. I'll try to fill in some gaps for you. I'm being joined today by Joe Kort. Joe, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So we're going to look at this skit, which, to give you a little intro, we can't actually play the video for copyright reasons, but it begins with a gay man played by Bowen Yang, the SNL cast member, and Travis Kelce, the NFL star, plays the straight male friend in this skit. It begins with Bowen's character saying, "As much as my girlfriends mean to me, sometimes I need a break." And that's when I discovered straight male friend. A low effort, low stakes relationship that requires no emotional commitment and no drama. And then at the end, it closes out with straight male friend found everywhere except therapy. So we're going to break down this skit. Joe's going to be in the driver's seat. We're going to talk about what it gets right, what it gets wrong, what it says about male relationships, gay men, straight men, masculinity, and emotional intelligence. So a wide range of topics. We'll try to get to them all. And Joe will be walking us through what stood out to him. So as for Joe, before we begin, Joe is a sex and relationship therapist. He's based in Detroit. He's the author of 4 books on LGBTQ issues and male sexual fluidity. His latest book is called Erotic Orientation, Helping Couples and Individuals Understand Their Sex Lives. And he's also the director and founder of the Center for Relationship and Sexual Health. You can find him on social media. His handle is Dr. Joe Kort. He's on Instagram, TikTok, doing some really interesting videos, great cultural commentaries about things like drag queen story time and the Dylan Mulvaney Anheuser-Busch controversy. Really recommend you check him out there. He's also this is really interesting. He's coined a term sides. So in the gay community, there are tops, bottoms. Now there's sides. This is a new term that Joe's come up with. I really recommend you look into that. Such an interesting conversation around that. And Grindr has actually picked up the term sides and now incorporates it into their profile. So you have the option of choosing top, bottom, or side, from what I understand. Also, one more thing before we begin. Joe is the author of an upcoming networker piece called When One Partner is Kinky, Cracking Open the Conversation. You're going to find that in our May issue. And if you're not already a subscriber, highly suggest you subscribe to the magazine. We've got a special deal going on right now. Our promotion is $12 for a full year of issues. So you'll get 6 issues. That's $12. You don't need to use any promo code. Just click that link at the bottom of the screen. That's 3 Starbucks lattes, 2 lattes if you're adding oat milk, 1 Chipotle burrito, and 1 Coke. Really, really a bargain. So you are going to get interviews with celebrity therapists in the magazine. You'll get case studies. You'll hear personal stories from clinicians. And Joe is in our upcoming issue. So please subscribe. Check it out. We would love to have you join us for those conversations as well. So, Joe, why don't we just dive right in? Straight male friend, what stood out to you?
Oh, just the theme of it was so right on. How much easier it is to be friends with a straight man. Even they've made it in the background of women, but it's also easier than being friends with gay men. Way more, less drama, even keel, just so different.
Okay, and so in terms of friendships, let's talk about that. Gay male friendships and straight male friendships. Is there a difference in terms of what these friendships look like with other gay men, with straight men, with each other? What's your sense of?
Well, amongst gay men, I often believe that we're actually meaner to each other than women are to each other. And when I've compared notes with other women, and I just think we're vicious, and there's so much drama and so much instigation because we have unresolved internalized homophobia, unresolved childhood trauma from suppressing and oppressing our orientation. But so you don't see that when you have a straight male friend. It's not that straight men don't have drama or create drama. It's just different, and it's not an ongoing anxiety thing between the two of you all the time.
Okay. And how about, so one of the things that's sort of played for laughs here is the lack of emotional literacy, emotional capacity on the part of straight men. And the skit sort of shines a light on that without really pointing a finger at anybody. What's your sense of that that emotional capacity in straight men?
Well, I think it's true. I mean, it's a cartoon, right? The straight guy in the thing is
Right.
like a cartoon. But what I know is that straight men, especially straight white men, are under attack right now, and so they're the
Mhm.
easy target, and they don't have a community to kind of fight back and say, "Don't do this to us." So I think
Mhm.
that's why it did it and could get away with it. But
Mhm.
I really rather us talk about the compassion for these men. You know,
Mhm.
we stop touching little boys earlier than we stop touching little girls. We teach little boys to stop touching each other, to turn their backs on vulnerability, to not have any relational vocabulary or awareness. And so then they grow up into these men, and then we say, well, what's wrong with you? But we forget
Mhm.
that's how we've raised these straight boys, all boys, but the straight
Yeah.
boys tend to be more like that.
When do you see that in your experience? When does that switch flip? I've dug into some research recently that said young boys do have that capacity for loving relationships, but then there's a point where things seem to change and they sort of embody those stereotypes of stoicism, and sort of wall themselves off.
You know, that's a really good question. I wonder if it's more when you start to realize that what you're doing doesn't seem straight or gender conforming. So
Mm.
now, right, and we have that earlier than girls, right? Females have all kinds. You know, I go to the airport and they're sleeping on each other, they're brushing each other's hair, they ask each
Mhm.
other to go to the bathroom. If I say to a guy, "I got to take a leak. Do you want to come with me?" He would look at me like, "What's wrong with you? Like,
Mm.
why do you want to?" So I think it's around 8 or 9 that you start to begin to notice that I can't. I want to touch my friend. I can't. I want to
Mhm.
tell him he's a good friend. I can't.
Okay. And I believe you said earlier that that applies to gay men as well as straight men, correct? Or is
It
there a
does.
difference in terms of how that development occurs, that
I think
isolation?
the conditioning is exactly the same, but I think
Yeah.
we have more permission, and we're spending our time often with women more. So we're allowing ourselves, and they're supporting us around all of this.
Hmm.
So it's different than the trajectory of a straight male who may not be socializing with women so much, and he's getting his socialization from other guys that are reinforcing that.
Mm. Okay. What did this skit get right for you personally? What did it get right about gay men and their relationships and straight men and their relationships? Or
Um,
what did it get wrong, if anything?
Well, one thing they said at the end, it was so quick, but I don't know if anyone caught on, is that many lesbians have straight male friends. They have
Mm.
the same mindset, the same lack of drama between each other, just like the less words, more action, of activity between each other. And I think they got that right for sure. And then they got it right that straight men do tend to have less to talk about. Like they don't have
Mhm.
a you're not going on and on with them. You're going to go and have a night out. You're going to have a fun night, and it's not going to become drama. It's not going to be clicky. It's
Mhm.
not going to be like the next day. I'm really upset with you because you said this or said that. Where
Mhm.
that could happen when you go out with women or when you go out with your gay friends.
Yeah, yeah. So you're a practicing clinician and you work with many LGBTQ plus clients. Are you hearing about friendships? How important is friendship to them? How often are you having discussions about friendships, making friends, falling out of friendships, etc.?
It's very important and very hard. It's very difficult to create gay friendships. And then once people do, at least in the gay male community, they're
Mhm.
cliques.
Mm.
All over the country, it's like this. It's like, and people will say, I'll be at a beach and you'll see groups of men get up all together and go get something to eat or go to the bed. It's like there's no individuality.
Mhm.
And I think there's such a need for belonging that we didn't get. So it,
Mm.
it meets that need as an adult.
Okay. Do you get the sense that there's this line in the skit? Hang out with him. This pertains to the straight male friend. Hang out with him as much or as little as you want. It won't affect the friendship at all. And then there's this scene where he says, "I'm." The gay man says, "I'm going off to Europe for 7 years or something like that." And the straight
Yeah.
male friend says, "Hit me up when you're back." Do you
Yeah.
get the sense there's some truth and some sad, of course, a lot of sadness in that? Do you get the sense that men, straight men, all men really are willing participants in their own loneliness, in their own stoicism?
Yes, but I don't think they really know how much of
Mhm.
that is their own volition. Now, they may have been raised this way, but they don't know how to come out of it. I think straight men have a much more difficulty coming out of it than gay men. But I always say this: women will always say to me, I wish my husband was more like a gay guy, because you're so compassionate, you're so empathetic, you're so easily influenced by the things I'm saying and willing to talk. And we are with straight women. We also are with straight men. We are not with each other. We are just like women's husbands with each other.
Okay. There's another scene that stood out to me in the skit where Travis Kelce's character says to Bowen Yang's character, "Do gay guys like it when a guy has a big one, or is it kind of a bad thing?" And Bowen responds, and I thought this was so thoughtful, and there was no laugh track over this from what I remember. He says it depends on the guy, and it's played for laughs, but it's nuanced, and it's such a human response. It's not black and white thinking. Did anything about that stand out to you, and maybe more generally about straight people's curiosity about gay relationships? Anything?
Well, for sure, straight men are very curious about gay sex, whether they want to admit it or not. Not all. I mean, making super generalizations, but they are interested in knowing, because it's easier for us to hook up. It's easier for us to talk about it. And I will say that a straight guy and a gay guy can have a better conversation than a straight woman and a gay man. We can still talk about sex with straight women, but there's a misunderstanding. Like, men often have transactional sex. And in the gay male culture, it's like, yeah, I don't even know your name. And maybe we just met for a second. We went to the bathroom and then we went on with our lives. And women don't understand that. They get very judgmental, where straight guys are like, oh my God, I totally get that. And I wish I could have that in my life. And I don't.
And this somewhat ties into the article that you just wrote for us. You mentioned there's a difference between sexual orientation and erotic orientation. Maybe we can just talk briefly about that.
Yeah, my favorite topic. So sexual orientation is to whom you're attracted to, male, female, both, a blend of both, neither. So it's your sexual orientation. Your erotic orientation are the things that get you off, the things that bring you to orgasm. It's also known as an arousal template. But today we call it erotic orientation because it's a part of you that you enjoy for sexual pleasure.
Great. So interesting, Joe. What is your advice to therapists? And now this is a big question, but do you have any sort of message for therapists watching? How should they approach working with gay men? How should they approach working with friendships with straight men, with gay men, helping men forge connections in a culture where we don't really value friendships or tend to push them away?
Well, I think that the therapy room is a female privileged environment. I really do. And that men are the underdogs. And we're always thinking the men have to catch up to the women so that they can, be able to. But, the newer thinking is, and I've heard Esther Perel talk about it too, is can we let men be where they're at too and let women meet men where they're at? And I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about male sexuality, male functioning by therapists, even male therapists. Who, we've learned, there's just been a very female conditioning. I'm not being misogynist. We've had a lot of female influencing and not an understanding of how men really work and operate.
Great. Well, Joe, are there any resources you recommend people watching check out? Books? I know you've got your socials, you've got a website. Where can people learn more about your work and these issues?
Sure. They could go to my website, joekort.com, or they, really, I do most of my stuff these days on TikTok. I have 600 and almost 50,000 followers. I'm really proud of it. I really work hard at it, and I'm very educational on there.
Great. Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us. You've been a longtime friend of the Networker. You've got this brilliant piece coming out in May. Everybody, I recommend you check it out. Click the link at the bottom of your screen if you're not a subscriber already so you can read it. Joe, you've helped us on the editorial team check some of our blind spots and become more informed, better human beings. Thank you so much for
taking time. Thank you.